Kakadosh Boker Or Masechet Bava Metzia. We're starting a new Masechet, new Perek of Bet Amud Aleph. And we're going to start the Mishnah. The Mishnah says as follows: Shenaim Ochazim Betalit. You have two people that come in front of the Bedin and they're holding on to a talit. So now obviously, let's see what's going on. So it says, Ze Omer Ani Metzatia, Ve Ze Omer Ani Metzatia. So each one comes and he says, I found it. And therefore, since each one says, right? I found it first, I find it first. They start arguing and they're both holding on to it. Okay? Another case, Ze Omer Kula Sheli, Ze Omer Kula Sheli. Let's say it's nothing to do with the Metzia. Because remember, Metzia means you found something, right? But rather, each one comes and it says, it's all mine. It's all mine. Each one, they come and they say, thank you. Right? They come and say, this is all mine. Fine. One second. So he comes and he says, right? So what are we going to do now? Because at the end of the day, it's one person's word against the other person's word. So what are we going to do? So Zei Shava she'en lo b'pachot mechetzia, ve'zei Shava she'en lo pachot mechetzia. So each one is going to swear that he owns not less than half of it. Okay, and this one also has to do the same thing. And then what do? Yachloku. They divide it. Yeah, here it says, if it itself can be physically divided, they divide it. And if not, so therefore, obviously, it's going to be sold, and then they get the proceeds, right? So they sell it, and then they get, right, the proceeds. Here, where's Tim? No. Ze omer kula sheli, veze omer chetzia sheli. What happens now if it comes out that one person comes and he says, the entire thing is mine, and the other person comes and he says, half of it is mine. Okay? So now, beforehand, each one was saying 100% mine. So therefore, each one swears that minimum is half is his, and then they're going to divide it. Here, one is saying it's 100% mine, and the other one is coming and saying, right? He comes and he says, one more time, he says, half of it is mine. So what do you do? Haomer kula sheli, the one that says the entire thing is mine, he has to swear, he has to swear that he doesn't have less than 3/4. Haomer chetzia, the one that says half, he has to swear that he doesn't have less than 1/4. So this one's going to take 3 chalakim, and this one's going to take a quarter. Okay, until here we're clear? Okay. Next case. One second. Let me finish the Mishnah and then I could take questions. Right? Ayu shnaim rochvim ya al gabe be'ema. There are two people that are riding on an animal. Yeah? Or he comes and he says, sheyarochev echad. Right? He says there's sheyachad rochev echad manhi. One of them was riding and one of them was, right, was leading it. Ze omer kula sheli v'ze omer kula sheli. Each one is saying it's completely mine. Ze yishava she'elo b'pocho michetzia. This one's going to swear that he doesn't have less than half. And this one's going to swear that he doesn't have less than half. Yeah, and then they're going to divide it. So one more time, either two people are riding on the same animal, or one person is riding and one person is leading. And the exact same question. Okay, each one saying that it's 100% going to be theirs. So, again, yachloku. Bizman shehem modim, o sheyesh lahem edim, cholkim belo shavua. Whenever they both agree that they acquired it simultaneously, or that they have witnesses that this is the case, then they divide without any type of a shavua. Obviously, the Gemara is going to speak about what are we talking about, but this is the concept as we already mentioned. So says the Gemara. The Gemara says, Lama li lemitzna ze omer ani metzatia veze omer ani metzatia. Why is it that I needed the Mishnah to say that each one says that I found it? Or ze omer kula sheli, veze omer kula sheli. Nichada. Just teach one of them. Which means like this. At the end of the day, what do I care? How is it theirs? Each one comes and he says, this is mine. You have two people come to Bedin. This is mine. This is mine. Right? Now, to come and to start, you have the object. It's not when a person loses an object. So therefore, he comes, he lost it. We have a mitzvah of hashavat aveda. I found it. I know it's not mine. So I come and I say, anybody that's simanim, please let me know. Here, they both come with it in their hands. And they both say it's theirs. So now, obviously, what's it going to help? So the question, though, is, why do we have two separate cases one case that each one is saying that he's finding it, and the other one that ke'ilu, that no, that it's not that each one is finding it, but rather this is mine and this is mine. Just teach one case. That's all that you need. So answers the Gemara. Chada ketani. The Mishnah only said one case. The Mishnah only said one case. He says, "V'zeh omer ani metzatia v'kula sheli." Right? "V'zeh omer ani metzatia v'kula sheli." It's all one case. It's not two different cases. Meaning, the way that we read the Mishnah was, "Zeh omer ani metzatia v'zeh omer ani metzatia." That's kilu one case. One person comes and says, "I found one person there," and then we understood another case. By the way, the two of them come into the bedin. This is mine and this is mine. No, it's the same case. Meaning, it's the addition to what they said. It's all one case. So says the Gemara, "Velitni ani metzatia va'ana yadana dekula sheli." Why doesn't the Mishnah just say, "I found it"? Now, if you say that I found it, that already means that it's mine. What does that mean? I found it and it's all mine. If you find something, right, and you're allowed to keep it, it's yours. Finders, keepers. No?
I didn't grow up in the US.
Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Losers, weepers. The ones that lose it, they weep, they cry. They cry. So the finders, they keep it. The finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Right? Now, again, obviously by the Jewish law, that's not 100% correct. Because there's a mitzvah, hashavat aveda, v'chule, v'chule. But it's a concept. So here, though, if you come and you say, "I found it," Kaddish, that's it. What else do you want? I found it. That means it's mine. You don't have to say that it's mine. So the Gemara answers, Itana ani metzatia. Says, if the Mishnah comes and says, ani metzatia, which means that I found it, Hava mina, he comes and he says, my metzatia re'itiha. He comes and he says, you know why you have to say this? Because maybe I'm going to translate the word that I found it. I saw it. Afal gav deloat yaladei, even though it didn't come to his hands. So he says, B'riya be'alma kani. So I would have thought that he would, listen, he acquires it just with his riyah. So tana kula sheli, right? So that's why it says that it's all mine, B'riya lo kani. Which means that this, imagine right now you come out to the street, right? You come and you're walking, right? You with Mordechai. And all of a sudden, right, you come and you see $100 bill on the floor. So you come and say, I found it. Right? Mordechai is much smarter than John Doe. So he jumped and he picked it up. Who keeps it? Mordechai. Why? Because at the end of the day, right?
He always
how do we say? We say Ashirut. Ashirut always goes after Ashirut. He's the one always with the how do you call this? With the briefcase. Yeah, he's always got all the money. So what happens? So therefore he ran, he picked it up, right? And once he picks it up, that's it. Yeah, it's his. So therefore, what happens now is as follows. Yeah, he comes and he says like this. He says, what happened is I would have thought to say, listen, I found it. What do you mean I found it? It's true, I found it. I found it. Usually when you come and you say that I found it, I come and I say, I don't think so.
לא, אומר לך לגויים זה רכס, אתה אומר מי שראה, אומר לך לא, מי שלוקח.
I don't think so.
You're going to be able to talk and to potentially discuss and negotiate.
He comes and he says this, since that's why we came and we said in the Gemara and the Mishnah, not only just ani mitzatia, because mitzatia, I could have said, listen, I found it. Usually when you come and you say you find something, it means that you see it with your eyes. You understand? What do we many times say? Enaim lahem velo yiru. What is that referring to? Enaim lahem velo yiru. Sometimes the person has it right in front of his face and he doesn't see it. That's why we actually come and we say to do the Marabi Binyamina kol b'cheskat sumin, right? Ad shekadosh baruch hu me'id et enehem. What? I don't know if he prayed the Chavana. He says like this, he says, Me'ir et enehem, it has to come and has to illuminate, right, their eyes. Why? Because at the end of the day, they have to see with their eyes. The first step of finding anything is looking with your eyes, right? But Yeah, he comes and he says, but he comes and he says like this. He says, but yeah, what's it called? But so he says that's why it's written that with riyah in itself is not enough. You have to actually see it. So says the Gemara, "Mi matzit amrat." Can you actually say that? My mitzatia reitia. He says, "V'amar Rabbi Benai umtzatah." What does it mean umtzatah? And you're going to find it. Data liyadam hashma. There in the Torah, when it's already talking about, right, that we're talking about an avedat achicha shetova min umtzatah. That already umtzatah is talking about it came to your hands. Meaning, anytime that it's written the concept of mitziyah, it's not just enough that you saw it; it came to your hands. That's what it means umtzatah, that you found it. Finding means no. That's what it's saying. Finding means that it comes in your hand, not just some seeing it. I could see a lot of things. It means it's mine. Somebody once told me, he goes to me, "Listen, I'm a millionaire. Why am I a millionaire? Right? I'm always counting money. There's one problem. It's not his money. He was a banker. He's always got. That doesn't mean anything. It has to be his, right? It has to be you coming. It comes in his hands. Of course.
That's the point.
Yes, of course. So he comes and he says that's a pshat. That it came to his hand to do a kinyan. So says the Gemara, umtzata dekra. When we're talking about now umtzata dekra, da'at al yadam mashma. You're right. It's true. Umtzata dekra is talking about, right, that it came to your hands. Umiu, however, though. Tana lishna de almanakat. I would have thought to say that the Tana is learning, right, the common usage of the language, right? So therefore, since he sees it, Amar anashkachit, he's going to say, I found it. Meaning, in a chanam, you're right. In the Torah, whenever it talks about mitziyah and all these things, it means you did a form of acquisition. Because just seeing something is nothing. I cannot come in and say, I go to a store, there's the last, I don't know what, the last tongue on the market. And also I look at it. And now, right, comes whoever it is and he wants to grab it. Because I know it's mine. Why? I looked at it. I enjoy your looking, right? But David ran and he grabbed it. It belongs to David. Yeah, it belongs to David. Why does it belong to David? Because at the end of the day, now it's his. He made the form of acquisition. But I would have thought to say that if he comes to Medin, now he's going to say, I found it. He's going to use that terminology, I found it, but really, Bemet, he found it means he saw it. Meaning, he's not using the terminology of the mitzad the pasuk or mitzad the kinyan. When he comes and he says, ani mitzatia, it doesn't mean that he actually acquired it. He just saw it. So he's like trying to use words that in the Badin, he's going to try to get away with it. So that's what we have to actually say. No, that has to be his. And therefore, even though it didn't come to his hands, he wants to say that he should acquire it just like that. So Tani kula sheli. So therefore, that's why the Mishnah says it's all mine. Be'alma lo kanila. He says because riya be'alma, he says he cannot acquire it. And since he cannot acquire it, right, just with riya, it does not help. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, velitni kula sheli velo ba'ani mitzatiyah. Right? I have a very simple answer for this question. But the Gemara is asking, 1 second, okay, fine. So if the Ikar is saying that the entire thing is mine and not that you just saw it, so just say, Zeomer kula sheli, Zeomer kula sheli. Right? And that's it. So now what's this very simple answer, the Balbatish answer? Then you wouldn't have Masechet Bava Metzia. Because the entire Masechet is based upon whether you found it or you didn't find it. But that's what the Gemara is asking. If the entire Ikar is that it's sheli and not that I just saw it, so just say, Zeomer kula sheli, Zeomer kula sheli, v'zeo. So answers the Gemara, Itana kula sheli. If the Gemara Mishnah would have only said the entire thing is mine, Havamina be'alma diktani b'mitzatia, then I would have actually had the Havamina that whenever you say the word mitzatia, it means b'riya be'almakani. So Tana ani mitzatia v'da b'tana kula sheli, the Mishnah yetera ashmin and deriya lokani. From the Mishnah in itself, I learn that you're not going to be konedze, right, with riya. Because the fact that it was extra, that's what you're learning. Meaning, beforehand, it wasn't extra. Right? Now that you're coming and you're saying that I found it, and then you're saying it's still all mine, now you're teaching you the Metzia, which is only Reya, is Shum Davar. Why? Because at the end of the day, you didn't do anything. You just saw it. Looking at it, 1 minute, looking at it is nothing. Okay? That's until here. So the Gemara says, Umi Matzit, Amrat, can you come and you say, Chada Ktani, Veze Ktani, can you actually come and say that the Mishnah is referring only to one of the set of the claims? But the Mishnah says, this one says, and this one says. The Mishnah says, Ze omer ani mitzatia, veze omer ani v'zeh, Ze omer kula sheli, veze omer, meaning like this. If you would have come and you would have said in the Mishnah, Shnayim ochazim betalit, Ze omer ani mitzatia, veze omer ani mitzatia, Ze omer, right, or kula sheli, or Ze. So then you could, but what does it mean? Ze omer v'ze omer. Every single time that you say Ze omer, it means that there's somebody that's saying it. So if you're coming and you're saying that somebody is saying it, so what's going on then? So Amar Rav Papa comes and he answers. V'itema Rav Shimi Barashi, some people say it's Rav Shimi Barashi. Ve'amri la Kadi, some people say it's Kadi. Right, he uses one of the names of the people of the name. He says over here, Reisha b'metzia, Seifa b'mekach u'memkar. He says the first part of the Mishnah, when he says Ani metzatia v'ani metzatia, we're talking about a metzia. But the Seifa, when we're talking about, right, it's not really the Seifa of the Mishnah, but it's like the second case of the Mishnah. Right? He's calling it former and latter, even though it's not really the Seifa. Usually the Seifa means mamash the end of the Mishnah. But here we're talking about the second case, right? When it says now Ze omer kula sheli v'ze omer kula sheli, we're talking about mekach u'memkar, buying and selling, right? Utzricha. And we need both cases. What do you mean now that we need both cases? So the Gemara is going to explain. Bet amud bet, 2b. De'i tana metzia. If we would have only taught the case of the metzia, because remember, it's the same halakha in both cases. So now, at the beginning, we just wanted to say, no, it's the same case. Now we're saying, you can't say it's the same case. It doesn't make sense to say the same case. So the Gemara is going to say like this. If you're going to teach me only by metzia, hava mina motzihu deramu rabbanan shvuale. I would have thought to say that only if you're taking out an object that the rabbis impose on you, a shavua. Mishum demori ve'amar chavrai lavmidi chaserba. Because you could actually rationalize to yourself and say, listen, he's not losing anything. He's not losing anything. Yeah? So, so therefore, I'm going to take hold of it. And then I'm going to divide it with him at least. So, to discourage that, we cause a shavua. What does that mean? We come and we obligate a shavua. You can't say that. Elmaleh, I would say that you don't impose the shavua. So therefore, that's what you need in the case of mekach u'memkar. Ve'itana mekach u'memkar, hu diram rabbanan shvualei. We're talking about the mekach u'memkar. That's when the rabbanan, they actually put a shivu on it. Mishum demori ve'amar, because he rationalizes and says, chavrai demai demeka yayiv. This fellow is giving money to the seller. Va'ana demeka yayivna, and I'm also planning to give the money to the seller. So hashta ditzicha ledidi. Now that I need it for myself, ashkeleana, I'm going to take it for myself. So now let him go and have the trouble in buying a different one. I cannot say that. I cannot say that. That's why we need both cases. Says the Gemara, right? He says, 1 second. If we are talking about a case in our Mishnah, let's see from whom the seller took the money. Meaning, what was the case? The case was, you remember, Michel came and he paid Ronen. And then I'm going to come and say, no, I'm going to give him the money too, so I could just... 1 second. Let's just check. Where did the money come from? He's going to tell you, listen, the money came from the Zel of Michel and not from me. You want to say poor. Right? That's it. What it was so cool. Okay, let's say there was no Zel. It's even better. But just check where the money is coming from. Answers the Gemara, la tzricha, tenaka mitarvayu. He was a smart guy. He took it from both guys. He took the money from both. So he says, yeah, mechad midate. One of them he took it willingly. Umechad bal korche. One of them was unwillingly, which means that they forced the money upon him. Velo yadana mihu midate umihu bal korche. Now we do not know from which one did he take willingly and which one did he take not willingly. Okay. Obviously, we're talking about that, whether it's that he doesn't remember, whether it's that he's not here, whether, obviously that's the case. Okay? So therefore, technically speaking, the money is not a siman anymore because the money came from both. So now what happens? So you can't use the money as a proof whose object is this. So, Leima matnitin, yes, 100%. They rent it out twice. Leima matnitin delo kiben nanas. So are we going to say now that the ruling of our Mishnah is in accordance with Ben Nanas. Di Ben Nanas, but if you're going to tell me that we're talking about Ben Nanas, Ha'amar, he said, Keitzad, Elu ve'elu ba'in lidei shavuat shav. Right? With accordance to Ben Nanas, why he says, right, that what? How can both of them come to court and say, right, a false shavua? Which means like this, what's going on exactly? Right? They're both coming and they're both swearing, right, that not less than, but 1 second, nobody ever said that it's only half theirs. Each one says it's 100% mine. So what's the chokhmah to come and tell them, listen, each of you swear that half of it is yours, which means that somebody's lying, and then divide it. Says Ben Nanas, I don't understand you. He says, Ben Nanas, Ha'amar, how are you going to come and we're going to do a judgment based upon the fact that somebody's swearing falsely? So our Mishnah, obviously, that's saying that each one is going to just swear on half, is obviously not going like Ben Nanas. So answers the Gemara, no, afilu tema Ben Nanas. Even if you're going to tell me it's Ben Nanas, hatam vadai ika shavuat shav. In the case of Ben Nanas, there's for sure a shavuat shav. But here you could say, right, the leka shavuat shav, that there's no shavuat shav. Why? Eimar de tarvayu badi dadi igbe. He says like this, in the case of Ben Nanas, right, he comes and he says, he was talking about a case where for sure there was a liar. Okay, and therefore, when there was it's a Mishnan Shavuot, where we're talking about a chenvani on his pinkas, which means a shopkeeper and his ledger, right? And what happens is that the case concerns a man who instructs the storekeeper to distribute funds, right, to the man's employees, and he places the sum on his account. And then the shopkeeper claims that he distributed the funds as instructed, but the payees deny ever receiving it. So imagine, he comes and he says, go pay it. And then also the people, so what are you talking about? He never paid us anything. And I said, no, but I did pay them. And now you have a machloka between them. So he says both are demanding payment from the man. So the storekeeper is demanding reimbursement, and the people, the employees are saying we never got paid. So now what's going on? So in such a case, right, the Tanakama there also says they both swear and they receive payment. The storekeeper swears that he distributed the funds, and the employees swear that they never received them, and they both collect from the man. So imagine, they're both collecting. Now what happens? Ben Nanas, however, he objects and he says, 1 second, if both of them are coming to court and swearing, one of them for sure is a liar. So if one of them is for sure a liar, so then what do you do then? How are you? That's the way we do it? Like, think about it. We're making a takana on a liar, and then what's going on exactly? How does that work? So says the Gemara, in that case, it's a little bit different. He says, you know why? In that case, one of them for sure was lying. There's only one storekeeper. There's the employees. The storekeeper says that he paid the employees. The employees said that they never received the money from the storekeeper. They both come and they both swear to the guy, right? And they both want to collect money. Somebody for sure is a thief. Somebody for sure is lying. So there, in that case of Ben Nanas, it's going to be one thing. In our Mishnah, maybe nobody's lying. So you know why? We both picked it up at the exact same time. You know how it is. We're talking about split seconds, right? So they both come and they both pick it up at the exact same. So therefore, each one is bemet when he's swearing. He's not lying. So really, bemet, maybe there's no liar. So if there's no liar, so therefore, even according to Ben Nanas, it's going to be okay. Okay, fine. So our Mishnah could also be going according to Ben Nanas. 1 second. Yeah. So now the Mishnah said, the Gemara says, okay, fine. So one more time. Our Mishnah could even be according to Ben Nanas. Now let's say about Sumchus. Says the Gemara, Lema matnitin teloko Sumchus. Right? Why don't we just say that our Mishnah is also not like Sumchus? Why? Di ke Sumchus, hamar mamon mutar besafek, cholkin belo shua. Sumchus has a very interesting approach, which many times I'm sure people will probably think about, which is as follows. You know what? He comes and he says, anytime that you have a doubt to do with an object or with money, split it. Right? Split it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just split it. Now, the truth is, though, it doesn't always work. Because, for example, if this is always mine, right, and he's going to grab it, and then we're just going to say, split it. Oh, you think I gained? I didn't gain anything, you understand? But that's his shita. But now, what's the chidush, though? The chidush, though, is that here we're talking about without a shavua. Our Mishnah also said yachloku, but it said with a shavua. So, obviously, our Mishnah is not like Sumchus. So says the Gemara, ve'elamai. So obviously, who does it have to be like? It has to be like Rabbanan. Ha'amri, the rabbis that argue on Sumchus all the time, right? They always come and they always say, right? Again, there is Sumchus was talking about a case in Baba Kama where you have an ox that gores a cow and the cow's fetus is found dead next to her. So we don't know whether the ox gored the cow while she was still carrying the fetus, and therefore he was the one that caused the abortion, or whether the cow aborted spontaneously before being gored. And therefore the owner of the cow, right? So each one is, should I pay? Do I need to pay? Do I not need to pay? So therefore there, the rabbi said, and Sumchus just said, split the money. Split the pot, huh? Split the pot. In? Yeah, this is what we're talking about here. So here he comes and he says this. He says, "Ve'lamai Rabbanan." So 1 second. So if it's not going to be like Sumchus, but Sumchus says you split the money without the Shavua, it has to be like Rabbanan. But if you're going like Rabbanan, what do Rabbanan say? Rabbanan come and they say, "Hamotzi mechavero alavaraya." So therefore, right, their ruling also seems to conflict with our Mishnah because each, right, which we're awarding each litigant half. But either way, right? How are you giving them half? So says the Gemara, "Hi, mai." So what are we talking about then? If you're going to tell me, then it's going to be the rabbis. There, both of them are not actually in physical possession of the money, right? Why? Because there, the fetus is on the ground, right? Nobody's grabbing onto something. There's not something that you're both holding onto. So Amr Rabbanan motzi b'chavariyah. Therefore, the rabbi said, "I'm motzi b'chavariyah." But hacha here, parvayu tafsu. They're both tofes. So therefore, paligale b'shivua. So therefore, you're going to divide it with a shivua. So therefore, it is Rabbanan. It could be Rabbanan. Okay. There's the Gemara. Afilu tema sumchus. We can even say that our Mishnah is also sumchus. It says why? He says, Ki amar sumchus eichadi kadrara de mamona. This is what he mentioned before. When does sumchus come and he say, right, that you don't need to take any type of an oath, only when there's a true loss of money involved. Now, when is there a true loss of money? In the case of the goring, right, of the cow, there's a true loss of money. That's drara de mamona. Here he comes and he says, this is the way that Rashi explains it. Obviously, Tosot the Rambam is, okay, fine, right? 1 second. So he says here, in the case of the gored cow, where the dead fetus is found alongside her, so he says, awarding the money for the fetus to either litigant, it actually runs the risk of causing the other litigant 100% to lose out money. Meaning like this: by the case of the fetus, whoever you're going to give it, the other one is 100% a loss. You understand? Meaning, if I'm going to give it to Mr. A, the other one was 100% loss. If I give it to Mr. B, it's also 100% loss. Correct. Meaning, there's 100% a loss of money. He says, and therefore, according to that, that's why we're coming to say, no. So he comes and he says, so that's why he says no oath is needed in order to justify the compromise of order of division, since such compromise is inherently indicated as the only logical way to reduce the degree of loss. But in a case where there's no loss of money involved, such the case of our Mishnah. Our Mishnah, right, neither of them stands to suffer a true loss, because finding it is just like a mazal of the finder. And therefore, he comes and he says, in the case of the bought, right, let's say he bought the cloak or whatever it is, neither one stands to really truly lose, because one of them is going to be rewarded. The seller just refunds the other guy's money. So meaning like this, in the case of the fetus, there's always one person 100% losing. In the case of the Metzia, or the case of Mekach Memkar and Mishnah, no one's 100% losing. Right? Why? In the case of Mekach Memkar, he's going to get the other guy's going to get the money back from the seller. Right? And the case of the Metzia, it was a mazal that you found something. You're not losing anything. So therefore, because of that, he says, that's why he said, Sumchu says that you don't need, right, a shivua. Only in a case where there's no true loss of money involved, such as in a Mishnah, so Sumchus did not rule that whether an oath is unnecessary. Maybe you do need a shivua. So says the Gemara, v'lav kal v'chomenu, make a kal v'chomen the other way around then. 1 second. In the case of Baba Kama, with the gored fetus, that 100% there's going to be a loss of money. right? And you could still say it's 100% to the other person, Gimel Amud Aleph on the top, right? And Sumchus still says, you're going to tell me that you're going to divide money without Shvuah. In our case, where there's no drara de mamona, nobody's losing money. Because we can actually say that maybe it belongs to both of them. Right? Maybe it belongs to both of them. Maybe they both picked it up simultaneously. Okay, how do you do with the case of the sale? That might be a little bit different, but at least with this, right? What's going on? See, he comes and he says, "Lo kol sheken, shouldn't be a kol sheken that you should split it without swearing." Meaning, we wanted to come and say, no, really, be'emet, it is sumchus. When does sumchus come and say that what? That safek mamona mutal b'safek cholkim, that's only going to be over there, right? There you divide it. But in our case, maybe you need a shavua. Says the Gemara, kol sheken, then you shouldn't need a shavua. If over there there's 100% loss, if over there there's 100% loss, and still you divide without a shavua, kal v'chomer over here where there's not 100% loss, so you're going to divide without a shavua, and that's what the Gemara is asking. So that's why he comes and he says that really be'emet it cannot be sumchus, and then obviously we're going to answer no, that it obviously it could be